Enter the realm of KSBM Radio's creation. Student-led from inception to narration. Crafting content from dawn until dusk. All students involved in the work and the fuss. In the heart of Townview where voices reside. Student-led discussions where ideas collide. From interviews with leaders, peers, and businesses. Just watch us work, creating innovative content. Every aspect managed with student finesse. From podcast production to social media press. No task too daunting, no challenge too grand. KSBM Radio, we taking a stand. KSBM Radio, students leading the way. Every task idea, we seize the day. Witness now as all of our efforts break through. KSBM Radio, the voice of Townview.
Come closer to the music.
Broadcasting live from Marvin E. Robinson School of Business and Management, Dallas, Texas.
My radio station.
We are KSBM Radio, the voice of Townview.
Hello everyone, and welcome to KSBM Radio, the Voice of Townview. I'm Des, here with my co-host,
Santi.
And today we'll be interviewing Mr. Will Roundtree, an investment and real estate coach. Will Roundtree is a respected leader in real estate and finance, known for his expertise in wealth building and credit education. As a financial strategist, investor, and mentor, he has empowered countless of individuals to achieve financial success through his coaching program, REI 90, a nationwide speaking engagement dedicated to financial literacy and community empowerment. Will continue to inspire others to build a lasting wealth and transform their financial futures. Mr. Roundtree, welcome to Townview. We're excited to have you here. Is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners before we get started?
I'm impressed. I'm with some the up and coming future leaders of the world, and just to see, like, I wish they had this when I was in high school. I really wish I did. So you guys are on probably the best path that I've seen in my 46 years on this planet. So I'm excited. And I need to take you on the road with me. That was probably one of the best introductions I've ever had. So you're welcome.
Starting off with your past and background, what was the defining moment in your childhood that you think was the starting point of your journey to success?
Oh, good question. So the era I grew up in, I got an opportunity to see people who made a lot of money. But the path that I was going on, I can tell that money was not going to be in my future. Now I could tell that, everything my parents prepared me for was preparing me for life. But as a kid, I wanted to be rich, and I think that I think sometimes that we're taught that wanting to have prosperity financially is a bad thing, and it's not. And so I wanted the fancy cars. I wanted to be able to take trips. I wanted to be able to, live life how I wanted to. Because, I grew up in the era when rap music was first being popular, and I was like, yeah, I want to live like that one of these days. So I guess, my defining moments was just being able to see different experiences of how life could be, because nobody around me was living like that. So, so if I had to sum it up in one word, I started to learn how to dream big. That was probably what it would be.
Can you share a pivotal moment or struggle early in your journey that shaped your path?
Yeah, so in 2005, I moved to Las Vegas. I borrowed $500. I moved to Las Vegas, and I had aspirations of being an entrepreneur and starting my own business. And when I got to Las Vegas, I ended up homeless, was sleeping in my car, and I had to figure out life very quickly. And, I didn't have mentors around me. There was no social media. Google and YouTube was still kind of brand new. And one of the many lessons I've learned in life is that rock bottom teaches you something that no other school or no mentor or no parent can teach you. Rock bottom forces you to kind of dig within and find a different level of strength for you to push through and kind of persevere. So I would say that being homeless and sleeping in my car was something that taught me that anything is possible, and I think often we look at, a goal of what it is that we want to accomplish, and we look at it from the macro and never understand that I wanted to be able to make the impossible possible. And so being able to move to Las Vegas, a place where I knew no one, I had $500 to my name, I was homeless, But to be able to just kind of overcome that, man, I would say that was probably the best thing that happened to me.
And can you tell us a little bit about how you bounced back?
Yeah. So when you're at rock bottom, we call it pain. But the one thing I had to learn quickly in life is that pain is temporary. Like, for example, and I'll ask you both this question. Have you ever stubbed your toe on the corner of the bed before?
Yeah.
How long does that pain last?
Few seconds.
Few seconds. You know the pain is coming, but it doesn't last long. And that's how I attributed my life. Everything that I was going through, I knew it was temporary. I just had to block it out. Or when you focus on the pain, then that's when it's painful. And so I was able to bounce back by just putting myself in positions to be able to win. And so I went out there, I started working. At one point I was working 3 jobs. I was, cutting hair. Like, I did everything that I could to give myself a fighting chance to get back in this, what I call economic race, or this financial race. And so as I started working, then any free time I had, I would, read books. I would go to the library. Anything that I could learn about finance and about money and about economics and about investing. And I literally probably slept 1-2 hours a day because I was just so vested in my future. So my bounce back was me just having a will of wanting to win.
Well, bouncing back, was there anything you regret?
That's a very good question. Actually, no, because every failure was like data for me. I think often that we look at failure as like something that's bad. I tell people, if I hadn't have failed, I don't think I would be here, because then I wouldn't have known what doesn't work. And so once I learned that failure wasn't final, no, I don't have any regrets.
And when you started to, bounce back and started working, even then, was there like a mentor or like a figure that you were able to model yourself after?
Yeah, so one of my very first mentors, a gentleman by the name of John Malott. And, he saw more in me than I saw in myself at the time. And he's the one who actually gave me the $500 to move to Las Vegas. And so, but yeah, I've had many mentors. Most of my mentors were authors. They were books. A mentor doesn't always have to come in a physical form. One of my favorite mentors, even to this day, is Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. John C. Maxwell, who wrote a lot of books on leadership. And the list just goes on. And then one of my mentors, who I've only met once, but I call him my mentor. I don't even remember his name, but he told me something in 2003. He said, "Will, eventually credit will become the new dollar." And I didn't know what he meant by that. But when I got to Las Vegas, I quickly found out that having bad credit is expensive. And when life is expensive, it's challenging to have peace. It's challenging to move forward financially. And to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be able to master finance or economics, because it's a language, unfortunately, that no one taught us. And so, but yeah, I've had plenty of mentors, and I still have mentors, and all of them aren't in finance. I have, health coaches. I have mentors spiritually. So you're going to have mentors along this journey in various areas of your life.
What made you set in having a career in investment?
Because I learned that people who invest make all the money. I take the path of least resistance. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to try to make it seem like I'm some super duper Einstein and come up with some new equations of money. I just did what I saw everybody else was doing. And when I learned that 90% of, successful, affluent, and very high net worth individuals own real estate or invest in some form of fashion, I just said, you know what, I need to learn what it is that they're doing. And, they always say it's okay to be a copycat long as you copy the right cat. So I just copied all of the cats that came before me who were successful.
And can you tell us a little bit about a few obstacles when you first started that journey in investing?
Oh, man. How much time we have?
We got all the time.
Look, I tell people I failed 70% of the time. Probably even 80. One of my very first major investments was in 2013. And so at this time, I'm working a job. I was making some pretty good money, and I liquidated my savings account, liquidated my 401k, took out a bunch of loans and I invested into a franchise, and it went completely wrong. I lost everything. I was sued civilly. I had quit my job, so I didn't have any money. And mind you, I still have all my regular life bills. And so, but that journey taught me something. I got into it for the wrong reasons. I did it solely for the money. I didn't learn about the business of the business. And I think that's probably one of the most pivotal things for when I'm speaking with a lot of entrepreneurs is it's okay to want to make money, but also learn about the business of business. And so I got into it because I'm like, you know what, everybody, because it was a tax franchise. And I said, oh, everybody has to file taxes, but I don't know everybody. Everybody doesn't know me. I still got to pay for marketing. I still have to understand the ins and outs of how business runs and accounting and all of the back end things of how to actually grow a business. I just assumed that I can just open the doors and all my friends, family, and relatives to come and do business with me. But real life doesn't work that way. So yeah, I mean, I've had many ups and downs. I've had to deal with lawsuits. I've had to deal with losing friends, family members. I miss a lot of birthdays and all of those things. But at the end of the day, you have to figure out I had to figure out who am I doing this for. It's for me to really create a real legacy, something that's going to outlast me. So I was willing to fail my way to the top.
When dealing with those obstacles, what kept you motivated to keep going?
I remember when I couldn't eat. I had many years I didn't eat. And that's the thing I tell people is that fear is a double-edged sword. Fear is something that it can prevent you from getting somewhere, and fear also can be the inspiration so that you don't go back to what you were accustomed to. And so, they often say that, fear is an acronym that stands for, false evidence appearing real. Well, I say fear stands for face everything and rise. And so I look at, y'all can use that on the next one. Tough. And so I use fear as a motivation so that I don't go back to where I came from. I don't want to be homeless again. I don't want to sleep in my car again. I don't want to, I remember for a year or two, I was sleeping on bath towels inside of a motel room, so fear is what pushes me so I don't go back to the life that I was escaping from.
And looking back, is there anything you would have done differently?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I don't think it's anything I would have done differently. I would say that I would have been more aggressive. I think often that, I was talking with someone recently who was looking to invest, and she said, well, I'm scared. And I said, why are you scared? And every time I ask someone that question, they can never give me a real answer. And then people would make up something and say, well, I'm scared to fail. And I say, how can you be scared to do something you're already doing? If you haven't accomplished any of your goals, you're already failing. And they were like, well, I don't want to lose any money. And I said, well, we have to look at investing as a mathematical equation. As long as I've been alive, and I'll ask you to, 1 + 1 has always been 2, right? Mm-hmm. Unless something has changed. And so that's the thing that I think that we have to learn how to remove emotions out of decisions when it comes to business and in money and finance and economics, and we just have to make it a mathematical equation.
What is the core mission behind your real estate coaching program, REI90?
My core mission, one is that real estate or investing or owning assets is one of the only ways that I've seen that solidifies some form of a financial legacy. When I started doing research on how is wealth handed down from generation to generation, you have to own some form of assets. So, my reasoning for wanting to put together my REI90 program is that one of the easiest ways to build wealth is through real estate. So I want to be able to just show regular people how it is possible, especially when we've learned that over 61% of people never even owned a home before. So I just want to show people how simple it is. And it's really as simple as buying a car. It's just the numbers are larger. And so that's one of my motivations. 2, I want to be able to leave my son something, because I don't want him to grow up having the same struggles that I've had, financially. Because, I believe in nepotism. You know, I want my son to have an unfair advantage in life. I don't want him to struggle. I don't want him to end up homeless. I don't want him to have to borrow $500 from some random guy who who believes in him. So yeah, no, I think that it could be it's simpler than we think. It's just that we don't know where to start. And so I wanted to put together the program based upon my experiences to give people a head start so they know how to actually start into investing.
And can you tell us a little bit about the background about how you made the REI 90 program?
Yeah, so the main reason I started it, a couple reasons actually. So before I moved to Las Vegas in 2004, my grandfather actually tried to give me over 45 of his houses, and I turned it down. Yeah, but here's why. I turned it down because I looked at the optics of the houses, and I didn't look at the opportunity. The houses were in neighborhoods that we call the hood. They weren't in the best condition. But if we fast forward to today, if I would have took over all of those houses, that real estate portfolio would be worth about $10 million today. And so I told myself, man, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I miss out on an opportunity like that again. And I want to be able to teach people through my mistakes, through my happenstances, and through the things that I've learned through, as I call my failures or my lessons. And so I put together the REI 90 program once I actually saw how possible it was to be able to buy real estate. But even more importantly, I bought my first property without using any of my own money. And when I saw that strategy worked, I wanted to be able to show people how to also do that. And because it's a strategy that most people don't even know exists, because we've been taught that we have to go out there, save money for 10, 20 years, and that's not necessarily the case. And so I put it together, one, because of my own journey and struggle and successes, but then two, I want to be able to share this information with as many people as possible, because there's a famous quote that says, when you help people get what they want, you'll be blessed beyond measures. So I just wanted to be able to help people and just continue to open up blessings for me, because the more blessed I am, I can bless other people, you know. So to be able to take care of my family, friends, and help as many people that I've been able to help on this journey, that continues to motivate me to you know, educate as many people as I can.
So what part of the REI 90 program do you feel is most impactful for new students today?
Oh, good question. I would say that the mindset portion, you know, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. You know, when I talk about mindset, I think that's one of the things that most people skip in anything that they want to get involved in. So whether you're trying to get into video production or business management or chemistry or whatever, the mindset is the most important component of that. And the reason that is because you are going to fail. It's inevitable. And that failure has to be, or that mindset has to be to where it pushes you past the point of the failure feeling like exhaustion. And so the mindset is not to keep you motivated, because motivation is temporary. The mindset is to keep you inspired. The mindset is to be able to push through the no's. The mindset is to be able to push through when you're feeling like, man, this isn't working. Nobody's paying attention. My family's not supporting me. My friends not supporting me. My girlfriend left. My boyfriend left. Like, you're going to go through all of these things. And that mindset has to be able to push you, because it's also going to be that, man, nobody understands what I'm doing. Nobody believes in what I'm doing. But you have to have a level of delusion that this is going to work. That's what mindset is. And so the mindset is probably the most important component of that program. I'm really retraining people on how they think about money, because most of the stuff we've learned about money is inaccurate. So yeah, the mindset component of that program is probably my favorite piece, and it ends up being a lot of my students and mentees' favorite component as well.
And why do you think people's mindset about, you know, going and journey with money is so like flawed, like how you were saying so far?
Because nobody teaches it. You know, I know in my household we didn't talk about money. It was taboo to talk about money. You know, money is almost like a cuss word nowadays. You know, like nobody teaches about the mechanics of money, the cost of money. It's more than just going, we're only taught go find something where you can make a lot of money. But making a lot of money has not secured people in the life that they want because we haven't learned about the cost of money. And so I think that it's various reasons. It's also that we've been taught how to make a lot of money, but we haven't been taught how to keep it, understanding tax mitigation and all of these different strategies. And so that's why I really love what it is that you guys are doing here at this school, because you're bringing in, professionals and people who have experience in these industries, and you all are getting a head start on learning things that 40 and 50-year-olds don't get access to. So I applaud, you all here at this program and everybody who put this together.
So what key principles do you emphasize most when mentoring new investors?
So I have what's called my 4-step Roundtree Methodology. You guys can write that down. 4-step Roundtree Methodology. Number 1 is mindset. Obviously, we talked about the importance of mindset. Number 2 is understanding credit. Credit is one of the key components that I think that most people overlook because we've only been taught about credit from a consumer standpoint. And so I'm going to go into that a little bit later today. Understanding the cost of money. We haven't been taught the cost of money. There's an opportunity cost to money. I mean, even when you go to college, there's a cost to go to school. You're paying for information. And then you have to look at the return on investment. I did a study I didn't do the study. Per the Department of Education, the average, cost for college tuition is anywhere from $40,000 to $200,000, depending on the level of an institution you go to. So you have to understand that cost depending on what you're going into the workforce for. And then number 4 is asset building. We have to understand how to acquire assets because in this economic climate moving forward, if you don't have assets, you will have to work forever. And that was also a motivation of mine is I wanted to be able to go somewhere tropical when it's time for me to retire. I don't want to work till I'm 80. So yes.
Where are you planning?
You know what? I've been looking at Costa Rica. I've been looking at Thailand. I've been looking at, a couple places where it's warm with no mosquitoes,
And how do you balance mentoring others with continuing your own real estate journey?
This is a little bit kind of a controversial response. There's really no such thing as a balance. You have to figure out how to marry all of it together. And so one of the things that I did is I buy a lot of real estate in the Midwest. And so what I did is I modeled my program in the market where I buy my real estate. So now a lot of my mentees, they buy in the same market where I buy. So now when I'm going out there and taking my students out there, I can go and check on my real estate. Also, I hire a team. I'm not hands-on. I've invest and put the money back into making sure that they can run the business for me. So you just have to figure out how to marry all of it together and not try to figure out, well, I'm gonna spend 10 minutes here and an hour here. No, let's figure out how we can do it all together and just kind of marriage my life of business and showing other people how to do it as well.
Can you share a setback you have gone through and how you overcame it?
Let me see. Like I said, the first one was the mentorship when I invested into that franchise. So when I made the investment and it went horribly bad, not only did I lose every single dollar I had, I also was sued. He tried to sue me for a breach of contract. And here in America, if you're being sued, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong or guilty or innocent. It's about who can prove who did what. And so I still had to fight it. And of course, I had spent all my money. So, I wasn't as liquid as I was. But what I did is I fought it what they call pro se, where essentially I went and looked up different case law and I had to fight it myself. And I got some help from a paralegal. And what I did was to overcome that is I went back to the basics of business. And I think one of the things that I often tell people, especially a lot of upcoming entrepreneurs, is that there's a formula to success in anything that you want to do from a business standpoint. I don't care if you're, doing window washing to mowing lawns to starting a daycare to a dog grooming business. Like there's a formula to how you can become successful. And so I went back to the basics. I didn't operate out of desperation. And my focus this time wasn't about making money. It was about helping people. And so that's how I often tell people is that was my first way of bouncing back. And then that's when I came up with my 4 core principles. If I would have had enough money to be able to sustain a business, do I have enough money to sustain the business? Do I understand the cost of money? If I borrow money at 20% interest, but my ROI isn't getting me at least a 1 to 2.5x return on my money, then I borrowed money that's too expensive. So I started learning just the core components of economics and not just how to make money. And so my bounce back was I went and got more education on business. I went and got more education on money. I went and got more education on strategy. I went and got more education on marketing. When you have a business, you have to pay for marketing. A lot of people don't realize like the Doritos spends $20 million for a Super Bowl commercial, but everybody knows who Doritos are. And so like you still have to pay for marketing, and then branding is separate from marketing. And then advertising is different than branding and marketing. So I had to learn all of these things. So I always tell people my failures is what taught me how to go back out there and just keep sharpening my axe.
And what motivates you today to keep pushing boundaries in your work and outreach?
That's a good question. I like the results I got so far. They say winning is addictive, and once you start finding little wins, and this is why I tell people too, celebrate the small wins. I remember one of my issues is I was always trying to hit a home run. And then I remember watching something on baseball once when I saw the contract, I saw a baseball player getting a $700 million contract. And I said, this guy clearly hits 2,000 home runs a season. And I looked and saw his batting average was 300. That means he hits the ball 3 out of 10 times. And we're taught that that's failing. So I just had to learn, no, I don't always have to hit a home run. I just sometimes have to get to first base. And so I started figuring out that celebrate the small wins, and the small wins is what helps to keep you motivated. So I don't always have to hit the home run, because sometimes you'll get frustrated trying to hit the home run, not knowing that you getting to first base sometimes helped your team win. So I just had to learn how to, celebrate the small wins and stay inspired and knowing that the goal was bigger than the failures or the upsets, and then finding fun in it. I think sometimes people get into things that's not fun to them. They're just trying to make money. And so I enjoy what I'm doing. Like if I hadn't have failed all those times, I wouldn't be here with you guys. See, so my failure brought me here.
What's your favorite part of your job?
Working with people. I'm fortunate and I'm blessed to be able to work and meet so many cool individuals, getting to mentor, the youth. Being able to give back, whether it's, speaking at organizations or, blessing families, working with, single parents, people who are recently incarcerated. Like I've worked with individuals from, someone coming from out of prison to homelessness, all the way to working with some of my favorite celebrities. I've got a chance to work with professional athletes and, people in Hollywood, like, people who I still admire, but now I can actually pick up the phone and call them. I'm in the rooms with them, I'm, at the Grammy parties. And so I'm getting to kind of live a life that, I used to dream about and put the pictures on my wall. And now to be able to put the pictures on a wall with me in it, it keeps me going. And so, no, I love it. But my favorite part is being able to really work and help people.
And how did you feel networking with, local families all the way to like these huge celebrities, like you said so far?
It's fun, but being honest, sometimes working with family is the hardest part, because they remember who I used to be. They remember the homeless person. They remember the person who had to move back in with my parents at 24, who was sleeping in the basement. They remember the college dropout. Sometimes the people closest to you remember your failures, and sometimes you get to create this new identity with strangers, and sometimes the strangers will adopt you, and then it gets to the point to where the family now believes in you because they're inspired by you. So sometimes, you know, you just got to go through that, and you have to learn how not to take it personal.
So what current project or initiative are you most passionate about right now?
One of my most passionate projects is really working with my son and helping him identify, you know, his entrepreneurial, you know, spirits and journey. This past September, you know, I got an opportunity. I bought a 4-unit building, and I created an LLC and put my son on as the owner. So my son is part owner at 15 of a 4-unit building. And so, and also too, I've really been focused on working more with youth, because I think that, you know, the youth, they're not as tainted about everything that could go wrong. You guys are just so motivated and hungry. And so I've kind of made it a mission to work, you know, with some more of the youth. And I want to be able to help that 18-year-old get their first investment property. I want to be able to help, you know, them get in position, or, you know, help them get in position to retire their parents. And so, yeah, so one of my mission projects right now is working much closely with the youth and helping them to understand like what's possible out there.
Me and Des, we gonna jump with you. We ready.
Absolutely.
And what would you say is a long-term vision for REI 90 and its impact on community? Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. My long-term vision is really just helping as many people as possible, increasing the statistics of people who can participate in home ownership. You know, showing people the business of real estate investing. The long-term vision is really just creating a legacy. I want this to outlast Will Roundtree. You know, the thing is that when you're able to really create a legacy, it'll go and last well beyond the years that you're on this planet. And to be able to have an impact like that, that's something powerful. You know, when you look at some of our great leaders, whether it was social leaders, civil leaders, economic leaders, even some of our favorite celebrities. I mean, think about it. Michael Jackson's album still outsells artists to this day. That's legacy. That's impact. And coming from where I come from, you know, not to get, you know, political, I was told by 21 I wouldn't even be here. And to be 46 years old and to be able to do all of the things that I've done, like I want my name to be here well after I'm gone, for my son to be able to leverage my name and open up doors for him, or, you know, if he chooses to have kids, my grandkids, or even my family, you know, I guess I'll let them, you know, use a little bit of my namesake and get an easier life. So no, legacy is very important to me right now. So yeah, I would say that's what my focus is.
And how do you plan to expand your influence in financial education nationwide?
Keep coming back here so y'all can get me on your social medias. Yeah, no, the branding is important. Like, that's one of the things that I even had to learn on this journey, is that you have to brand yourself, and you have to be willing to make investments in yourself that does not give you an immediate return on investment. And, you know, and I was actually just watching a video with the beverage company Olipop, who just got bought by Pepsi. And she said that, you know, they invested in their brand for like 5 years before they even made $1. And that's where that mindset it comes into play, where you have to believe in your dream and your product and your brand long enough until other people believe in it. And when you're able to believe that long, somebody will cut you a check large enough to where the masses will believe in it. So yeah, I just got to keep branding and coming and working with cool people like such as yourselves and teaching as many people who are willing to listen. Yeah.
And what kind of legacy do you want to leave in the real estate and financial literacy space?
I want a statue. Maybe you guys would put a statue of me out here. You think so?
In Texas or in Las Vegas?
For the school.
Oh, in front of the school?
Yeah, somebody make it happen.
We can make it. We can make it.
But no, the legacy I want to leave is that to say that I've been able to go out there and create a lane of educating people on something that at one point was taboo. You know, when I first started this industry, it was taboo to talk about credit. It was taboo to talk about, you know, using credit cards to buy real estate. So, you know, I want to be known for someone who was a trailblazer, someone who didn't take no personally, someone who, you know, defied all the odds and every barrier. And no matter what the economic climate looked like, no matter how many doors were slammed in my face, like I want people to be like, man, Will, he really fought to be able to open doors for a lot of us.
And what is one piece of financial advice you think every young person should know as they start working?
Learn about the importance of credit early. I'm telling you, when I get a chance to work with adults who are, you know, closer to their age of retirement, and I've literally had them tell me after they've, you know, kind of binge watched a lot of my material and content, they're like, Will, everything that we've been taught was a lie. And so if you guys can just get this as early as possible, and this is why I drill this in my son's head, is that we have to understand the economics of money, not just what money is. We have to understand the cost of money, not just how to go borrow money or just how to make money. And so the more we learn about economics, and the faster we learn it, and the earlier we learn it, I'm telling you, your life will be so much easier because, you know, these are things that we wasn't privileged to learn about at such a, you know, and now it's easier because we have social media. You guys are doing a podcast here in high school and putting out information like this. Like, I don't think you all even know like what you're doing and how revolutionary this is. And so I want to, you know, definitely commend all of you here in this room and in the school and, you know, in the station for what you're doing, because I'm telling you, it's college courses where people are spending, you know, $50,000 a semester and they don't learn what it is you all are learning here. So, you know, definitely.
How do you see the role of mentorship evolving in the future, and what part will you play in it?
Maybe I'll clone myself and do an AI version where I have a program inside. What is that? The RV? Maybe I'll do an RV mentorship program. But no, mentorship is vastly important because I think that you get an opportunity not just to learn what to do, but you also learn what not to do from a mentor. You know, because I often tell people all my losses. When I have a failure or a lesson, I share that with my mentees. When something isn't going right, I share that, but I'm also going to share them how I overcame that, because I think that's a part of the journey, and the hardest part of people being successful is they don't know how to maneuver through the difficult parts. So yeah, that's what I would say that, you know, would be the response for that.
And our last question is, what advice will you give those who want to follow in your footsteps?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Y'all had to save the best for last, huh? Mm-hmm. What would I tell someone? If I had to go back and look at my 17, 18-year-old self, what I would say is that really find a mentor who's going to keep it real with you. I think a lot of the times we want to have people who will lie to us and tell us everything is going to be okay. Just believe in yourself and work hard. A lot of that stuff, that's not real life. You know, I tell my son, who's 15, life is hard. You're going to fail, son. You're going to go through obstacles. You're going to have ups and downs. Like, I tell people the truth about what life is going to look like, and I don't want to sugarcoat it, because I think it does us a disservice, because then when you get out into the real world, you don't understand how to deal with problem solving. You don't know how to critically think through a challenge. You don't know how to pivot fast enough for you to be able to not dig yourself in a deeper hole. And so I would say that the most important component is mentorship, you know, and that's something that I was fortunate enough to be able to get early in my life. I think I, you know, started learning about mentorship when I was about 22, 23. But ironically, I found my mentor through a failure. So that's why I say sometimes that you have to be willing to go out there to fail to get the data. And when people understand that, you know, like the only way you're going to know that, like, for example, when you play basketball, like I thought I was going to go to the NBA at one point. So when I used to play basketball, the only way I could know my shot was off is when I would study how I was shooting. But when I started seeing that I was shooting and my release was wrong, I was able to take the data from that so I can correct my release. Same thing in business or in life or in entrepreneurship. Like we have to be able to fail or do something long enough to figure out, oh, this is why this isn't working. Oh, this is why, you know, like right now I'm trying to learn how to play golf. This is why my swing or my drives keep slicing or cutting. But I'm able to film that and figure out, okay, this is what I'm doing wrong. This is what I can improve on. This is how I can get better. And I got to keep practicing at it. I just can't get one good swing and say, okay, I'm done. No, I got to keep going out there, and I might keep failing and failing and failing. So like that mentorship is so important. No different than like when I have a personal trainer. You know, I get a trainer because, you know, it helps me to push through the monotony of you feeling like it doesn't work. And sometimes your mentor is there to hold you accountable. They're there to encourage you. They're there to inspire you. And they're there to tell you that, look, you messing up. You need to get your act together. You ain't been to the gym in 3 weeks. So then that's when I put them on D&D.
Well, thank you, Mr. Roundtree, for sharing your
Absolutely.
journey with us today. Your perspective on wealth building, real estate, and financial empowerment offers valuable guidance for anyone striving towards financial freedom. We appreciate your commitment to educating and inspiring others, and we're grateful for the opportunity to learn from your experience and leadership. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Until next time, this has been KSBM Radio, the Voice of Townview. Stay awesome.
Thank you for listening to KSBM Radio, the Voice of Townview.
My radio station.
We hope you enjoyed the great content and great discussion, all from a student's perspective. Make sure to follow us on Twitter for the latest updates at KSBM_TVT or on Facebook at KSBM Radio.
Add them on Facebook.
Check them on Facebook.
Take care.